So we are Bojan and my friend Petar. We are from Circle Web Foundries, Serbian-based company specialized in Drupal. And our job is to give this presentation about Drupal 8 plugin API. It's a new term in Drupal ecosystem. And most important thing, it's not related to WordPress. And it's complicated, but not that much. We will just go through the basics that will help you to get more involved and go more in depth in Drupal 8 plugin API. So how many of you already built a custom block in Drupal 8? Okay, quite a lot of us. So then you already built the plugin in Drupal 8. The blocks are one of the mostly common plugins in Drupal 8. We'll go through what are plugins. We'll talk about how they work. We'll also talk about how to create your plugin manager, how to create your custom plugin type. We'll go through plugin discoveries, plugin factories, and at last we will give some demonstration. The basic idea of the plugins is to allow a particular module to provide functionality in an extensible, object-oriented way. So we need to know it's object-oriented. There's no more different hooks in different files. So everything is in one class for plugin manager, one class for a plugin, everything in one place, and that's the best thing. Plugins are object-oriented replacement for info hooks, and many hooks associated with the info hook. Probably all of you, if you are Drupal developers, build a custom module that provides some custom block in Drupal 7. So you need to use info hook, then later hook block viewer or something, and later, if you want another block, you have to repeat and define everything once again. So, and you can call your file however you want and place it wherever you want. But in Drupal 8 plugin API, it's already written in the core, and you just have to extend that with your own block, with your own plugin. At the same time, they provide a much more robust mechanism for replacement of a logic, which is something we could not do previously. With the plugins, you can actually swap a class for a particular plugin and run completely different code than what core or content module provided, which is incredibly useful. And these are some existing plugin types their core provide for us. There are blocks, also image manipulation effects, field types, field widget, and field formatters in field API, and also items in navigation menu are also plugins. Blocks are the best example of plugins because with blocks we use it's the great learning starting point if you want to learn plugins, because everything is really good scaffolded, and you can start from there, just see how it works. You can take a look and try to create your own block, and later it will be much easier for you to create your own image manipulation effect or custom widget type, custom widget field type, or field formatter. Here's some more definitions. Plugins are reusable bits of functionality that are configurable, reusable, and do exactly one thing. So each plugin do one thing. If you want something else, you create another plugin. Plugins are PHP classes. Each plugin is one PHP class that implements a defined interface. So each plugin type has its own interface that you need to respect, and then you have to apply your methods from interface in your plugin of the given type. Creating a new plugins requires knowledge of PCR4 annotations and sometimes dependency injection. and service containers. Maybe it sounds scary to someone who is not feeling comfortable with object-oriented code like me, but it's not that complicated. You don't have to be experienced in object-oriented PHP to write your own plugin manager or even to create a plugin for existing one. Plugin types are defined and managed by a plugin manager. So each plugin type, for example, blocks or image effect, has own plugin manager. My first touch with the plugins was when I got a request from a client to create a custom checkout pane in Drupal 8, in Drupal 8 Commerce. So it was a just simple pane in the checkout flow that allows customer to select one checkbox, and it affects image price calculation and everything. In Drupal 7, it was not that easy, but in Drupal 8, it's a piece of cake, just because you got everything. You got a checkout pane base, and that you just have to crawl through it and create your own logic. It's just, you just scaffold your plugin, your checkout pane, and write your own logic inside of it, and it works out of the box. There are several things a module developer may need to do with the plugins. So first is, you can define a completely new plugin type, like a custom plugin type for your own module, for your new functionality that will extend Drupal. Because plugins are actually not the modules, but it is. You build a module that provides your plugin manager. You can create a plugin of existing plugin types. So you can create block, custom image effect, or custom checkout pane in the commerce. Or you can just perform tasks that involve plugins. You can just call a plugin and create an instance of it. But to perform tasks that involve plugin or create a plugin of existing plugin type, it's best approach to learn how to create a plugin manager, to create a completely new custom plugin type. What is a plugin manager? Each plugin type is managed by a plugin manager service, which uses a plugin discovery method to discover provided plugins of that type and instantiate them using a plugin factory. So we have two components in the plugin manager, discoveries and factories, that we need to use to create and define our own plugin manager. There are a lot of complex things in plugins that we cannot cover in this session because we just want to give you a basic things about plugins, but there are also plugin derivatives, plugin decorators, mappers, and a lot of things, but you just have to start from somewhere, and these are necessary to know if you want to create your own custom plugin type. Plugin manager describes how plugins of a given type will be located, instantiated, and generally what they'll do. So, plugin discovery is like it says, it discovers your new plugins of given type. So plugin discovery is there just to recognize and take control of the new plugins, and plugin factory creates the instance of given plugins. Plugin discovery is the process of finding plugins with the available code, the code base, that qualify for use within this particular plugin type's use case. We have a few plugin discovery types. Most popular and most common are annotations. Annotations. Plugin classes are annotated and placed in defined namespace subdirectory. Most Drupal core plugins use this method of discovery. So it's most common discovery method. We also have hooks. Plugin modules needs to implement a hook to tell the manager about their plugins. There are also YAMLs. Menu items in menu navigation use this discovery method. Plugins are listed in YAML files Drupal core use these methods for discovering local tasks and local actions. And we got a static discovery method. Plugin classes are registered within the plugin manager class itself. Static discovery is only useful if modules cannot define new plugins of that type. And we need discovery, and we also need the factories. When discover new plugin, the factory creates the instance of it. And there are two most important components of the custom plugin manager. We also have an interface, which will be implemented, as I said. So in interface file, you define how your plugin works. You define all the methods, all functions, and each plugin have to implement those methods defined in the interface. It's optional. You don't have to, but usually the best practice is to write a plugin base as a starting point. Developers will use that plugin base to create their own plugins. So usually people, when they create their own plugin custom types, they also create the plugin base file, like example, which will later be extended because everything is in classes. So enough theory. Let's see how the code works.
Okay, we have here one plugin manager class, and we can see that it extends default plugin manager. So the most important line here is the delegate to parent constructor. We defined here that our annotation, our discovery method will be annotation. So if we take a look in the background of this method, we will see that it assigned two variables, discovery and factory. That's the design patterns. So let's go on the next slide. This is annotation class and file. It's pretty simple. We define some properties, name and color, and we have a validator for that properties here and here, and that is the default property. Every plugin has an ID and get plugin ID method. Okay, let's go next. It's our plugin file with annotation block that provides information of that for that plugin. ID, name, weight, and color with translation. We have to extend cat base, and that's all. Here is the cat interface. Oops. That extends plugin that extends plugin inspection interface. We have declared public functions that we will use in our plugin. We have three methods: get name, get weight, and get color. Next is cat base, our plugin base. We extend plugin base and implements cat interface that we made. And in these functions, we access the properties that we defined in annotation. Okay, if we want to override some of these methods, we will do right here. Here. Okay. And that's all. We are ready for questions.
It's not all. Here are resources. It's Drupal cookbook we used for this session, for this presentation. There's also a great blog post at Drupalize Me, Joe's blog post. It's also a good example how people should write blog posts. He's really good in it. And you can find our plugin demo, plugin manager demo at this Petar's GitHub. There's all files from our presentation. We want to thank organizers. It was really good Drupal camp. Congrats, and this is the last session. Thanks. Any questions?
I'm really sorry because I'm asking of the so exotic terms, but what is actually a plugin decorator and a plugin mapper, if you know? Because I want to review it a little bit. I'm also studying the plugins.
Yes. So this was just the basics of the Drupal plugin manager, but there are lots of built-in functionality that Core provides for a plugin manager. So you can use them for just for scaffolding. There are a lot of functionalities and a lot of add-ons to your plugin manager. So for caching, for example, you use decorators. Decorators are used to extend your plugin type in your plugin manager. Also, like mappers. Mappers are used to let know your plugin manager to automatically define some configurations, some variables, and context, for example. There's also a plugin derivatives. So that's the example of it. It's a navigation menu. So when you have one plugin, but multiple instances, but with different configurations. So each menu is like title and label and the link. And there's no need to write a plugin for each menu item. That's where we use derivatives. So you need only one plugin, and then create the derivatives and pass the configuration. So you have like how many items you want. Is that okay? Any questions? Can you check online questions? Oh, there's no online questions. So to sum up, plugins are, I forgot to say, plugins are design patterns. And this design pattern is really useful thing. It's your friend if you're a developer. It's object-oriented thing, and it's a modern. So let's all use plugins for our modules. If you see that your module will provide something that can be extended, that someone once will have to extend your module to give new functionality, instead of service, try to build your own plugin manager and make the life easier for other developers, because you will need also to extend another module, and when you find out there is a plugin type for it, you will be happy. Okay, thank you.